All right, guys, so if you are tuning into this video, then I assume that you are looking to relocate to East Tennessee, and you're probably seeking some advice, some guidance, maybe even just some tips and tricks on how to make this whole crazy dream happen. I know that it can be incredibly stressful. Listen, I've helped so many people over the years, do the whole out of state relocation thing. And especially since starting this YouTube channel, I mean, at this point, my business really is like 75% out of staters. So over the years, I've gained a lot of knowledge I've seen people do it so many different ways that I feel like I have a pretty good idea of, what are some good practices. And today I want to kind of talk about all that. So we're going to go over a lot of different topics. We're going to talk about, some time frames. We're going to talk about like how to prepare for everything and what to prepare for. And we're even going to talk about like some really good handy tools that you can use along the way to kind of help, vet different properties, different, locations, just to make sure that you get you and your family in the best situation that you can. So we're going to start off by talking about time frames. Now, when we're talking about time frames, there's several things that you need to take into consideration. One of these is, you need to be aware of how long it takes to close a real estate deal. So the typical close time here in our area is about 30 days. Now, if you have cash, or some lenders even can close a little bit sooner than that, but just because you can doesn't mean the seller can. So I would prepare for 30 to 45 day close time. And the reason that I'm telling you that is because, a lot of people, let's say that you told me, hey, we want to be moved in to our house in 3 months. Well, that means you probably need to start looking now because you're going to have a whole month of just getting through the process to close it, right? So I think that a lot of times those time frames, people want to start a little bit later than maybe they should. Now, the second thing that you need to take into account whenever you're, looking at your time frame is how long is it going to take you to find your property? You also have other situations like new construction. Some builders can build a house here and, it'll take them a year. Some people can do it in 3.5 to 4 months, so that's definitely something to take into account. Some people, are looking for very, specific properties. They want acreage and yada, yada. And those properties can take a little bit longer to come to market, where some people just want a normal, neighborhood house and they would say like a good part of town, right? Those are obviously going to be easier to come by. So the best thing to do, obviously, is get with a realtor like myself or, whoever you want to work with and, definitely talk about your time frame and everything like that. And also have them set you up on an MLS search so that you can kind of just be seeing what's available. Like even if you're, several months out, still go ahead and do that because you want to see what's on the market. You want to see how many properties, are you interested in that are coming out in a week? How many properties in a month? And that's going to help you to understand, what your time frame is going to be, how long it might take you to find that property. Because again, if your time, let's say you're giving yourself 3 months to make this happen, or maybe 6 months. Well, if it takes you a couple months to find the property because there's not a ton coming up, and then it's going to take you a month to close it, then, you might need to start looking 3 months before or 4 months before, just things to be aware of. Now, the next thing that I want to go over is how to plan out your visits. The majority of people that I help, are visiting, at least a couple times before they actually pull the trigger on something. They want to vet different towns. They want to just kind of get familiar with the community and just make sure that it's going to be a good fit for them and their family. Because you can watch all the YouTube videos you want, but until you get here and put boots on the ground, you really have no idea. I guess that's not true. You probably have a general idea, but you don't have the whole picture, right? So when a lot of people will call me whenever they're in town, because what'll happen is they'll come to town and then they realize that they didn't make a plan and now they're like freaking out. So they look on YouTube and they find me and call me, and then we have to kind of help them plan everything out. So a way to kind of get ahead of that, obviously go ahead and call your realtor, whoever you want to work with, to kind of, help with it. But something that I always tell people that I think is really helpful is try to, try to pick out, 3 or 4 towns, 3 or 4 towns that that you're interested in, and spend a lot of time in those towns. Oftentimes people will come here and they want to stay way over in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge because it's the touristy area, when they're interested in like Oak Ridge or Maryville. It's like, why would you do that? You're an hour away. That's 2 hours you're driving, just to go to the town that you're interested in living in. So I would really advise you to not do that, to stay in the towns that you're interested in. So if you're interested in Oak Ridge, if you're interested in West Knoxville, find an Airbnb or, a hotel in those areas and stay in there. And the second thing is, look for recommendations. Try to find local places to go eat. Don't go to Red Lobster or Chick-fil-A. Those places are great, but try something local. You're in a new place. Why not? I think that helps you get more familiar with the area. You get kind of more invested in the community, and it just ends up being a better deal. Now, the second thing is, you guys are, obviously you're here looking at houses and neighborhoods and things like that. So what I always tell people is, let's say you pick out a town, let's say it's Maryville. I would go through the listings, and we know that, these homes probably aren't going to be available whenever you're ready to buy, but still go through the listings, pick out 5, 10, however many you feel like, and just drive around, bounce around to all these different neighborhoods. You can actually go on Google and you can add several different addresses in there, and you can map it all out so that you can bounce from, property to property. Now, here's the thing. You may not like any of those houses, but you may find neighborhoods in between when you're driving from A to B that you do like. And that's what this is all for, is it's just to get you, in the community, driving around, seeing different things, right? That's going to show you a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to give you an idea what the roads are like. Some people think the roads are too narrow and curvy here. It's going to give you an idea of what the topography is like. Some areas are more hilly than others because they're closer to the mountains. It's going to give you an idea of, what the neighborhoods are like. Like, do you think it's a trashy part of town? Do you think it's a very nice part of town? In my opinion, that is the best way to do it. And you can really go through 2 towns doing that in a day. You could, just pick 2 of the closest ones and spend the morning there and spend the afternoon here. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is going to be some tools that you can use to help, figure, all this stuff out. Everyone's going to have, different priorities. For some people, it's going to be family. They want good schools. They want, good shopping, conveniences, healthcare. They want, stuff to do. For some people, it's going to be, they want to be remote. They want to be away from the hustle and bustle. They're retiring. They just want to be somewhere quiet. Everyone's going to have their own thing, and there's several different tools that you can use to kind of figure all that out. So the first thing that I think is really helpful is going to be just the most simple thing ever, and that's Google Maps, right? So from Google Maps, one thing that I love to do is when you're looking at a town, go down here and change it from the regular map to satellite, and then just kind of scroll around and just look, because what you'll find is you can see where these big neighborhoods are. You can see where the big, commercial spots are. And then if you scroll outside of those towns, you can see, more farmland. I think that's incredibly helpful. And especially when it comes down to actually looking at houses and neighborhoods, so helpful, because you can see, is there a train running behind my house? Is there a big commercial building? Is there a trailer park that you don't want to be near, right down the road? And you can take it one step further and do the street view, which is incredibly helpful. I have people do this all the time. You can change this to street view, and you can essentially walk up and down the neighborhood, look in all directions, and just see, what are the neighbors like? What's the neighborhood like? Do people take care of their stuff? Is it junky? And you can do the same thing in town. So like, let's say that you were looking at, living in Jacksboro, and maybe you wanted to check out, where all the shopping is, and you wanted to just kind of walk up and down, that road. You could change it to street view, and you can go and essentially see what everything's like. I mean, it's an incredibly helpful tool. Now, the second thing that I really like to use is still on in Google Maps. If you go down here and actually change it from satellite to terrain, this is incredibly helpful to understand what the topography is going to be like in general in that area. So like you can see here, if we go down like kind of towards like Townsend, you know, this is where the Great Smoky Mountains are. So you have a ton of mountains. And then as you get into Maryville, you know, it's a little bit flatter. And then as we go further north, like let's go back up to Jacksboro and La Follette, and you see like there's, you know, several more mountain ranges up there. So that kind of gives you a good idea of what that terrain's like so that you can go after what it is you're looking for. Oftentimes people move here and they want to get, you know, 10 acres of land, and they're disappointed when they find out that it's the side of a mountain. Stuff like this can kind of help. And then you can take it one step further and you can actually look at a topography map, which is another excellent tool to use. CalTopo, and I can't remember off the top of my head what settings you have to change. I'll show you right here. I'm sure I'm showing you as I'm talking, but CalTopo is free. You can, you know, copy and paste the address in there, and then you can kind of see the topography lines as well there. So that's really helpful if you're looking for acreage. Even if like maybe you're just looking at a neighborhood and maybe you're a little confused as to what the backyard's doing, this is still really good for that as well. And again, it's a free website you can use. Now, another great resource you can use is niche.com, and this is going to be for the people that are interested in the school systems. Niche.com is what just about everybody I know uses, because what niche.com does is it ranks all the schools. It goes through and actually breaks it down into categories, you know, teachers, academics, facilities. You can go down and it has other stats and things like that. And then it even has, you know, reviews at the bottom if you want to go through there. So niche.com is excellent for looking at schools. Another really useful tool is a crime map. Now, unfortunately, in Tennessee, I have had trouble finding crime maps for the county areas. So like when you're getting up, like say like Jefferson County or Anderson County, I've had trouble finding crime maps for those areas. But if you're anywhere in Knox County, you can use LexisNexis, and it is wonderful. You can copy and paste the address, and it'll give you kind of this interactive map. It'll show you exactly what kind of crime happened, and you can even go through like different filters and things like that. But that's a really good one to make sure that, you know, we're looking in a good, safe area, because I know that's important to a lot of people. Now, another good resource is going to be the same resource you're on right now, which you've already discovered this, and that is YouTube. There's a lot of good YouTubers in our area. Haley Jones is great. I should know their names, but I don't. There's another younger guy like me. He has really good videos. There's an older gentleman in Knoxville. He has really good videos. Obviously, I think my videos are okay. You know, I've at this point have videos on just about every town around. And if I don't have a video on a specific town, I probably have a video on the town next to it. And they're probably pretty much the same. So look through there. I mean, that's such a good resource. It really is. Okay, and then the last tool that we're going to talk about is citydata.com. Citydata.com, actually a client from YouTube turned me on to it, and it is... if you want to geek out on some statistics, that is the way to go. There is just everything from like male to female ratio to like wages to just all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can really spend some time on citydata.com. So if you're looking for those specific numbers and you want to know everything, like go have a ball. It's not my thing, but lots of people like it. So yeah, those are, you know, just some tools that I think are really helpful to start off and just to start vetting different areas, right? Because that's what this is all about, is process of elimination. You know, like let's no on this town, that one's good, this one's good, great, let's look for houses, you know, and that's pretty much what that process is going to look like. So now the next thing I want to talk about is this is the difficult part, and this is when it comes time to you getting ready to actually enter into the market. right? You want to know like, well, how do I go about this? I've seen people do it, multiple ways, but really there's three ways that work the best. The first one is, you can fly down, schedule a visit. Maybe it's a weekend, maybe it's a whole week. And during that time, if you just give me a call or your realtor, whoever you want to work with, if you, just reach out to your realtor, and what we can do is we can just search for, whatever it is you want to look at, whatever you want to look at, we'll go check it out. And do that within your time here. Now, the good thing about that is that you get to put boots on the ground, you get to see the property, and that's all great. The bad thing about it is that if you need to come back down for the inspection, that's another trip you've got to plan. Also, for whatever reason, it seems like the day that you fly back is always the day that the property pops up. So, that can be frustrating. The second thing that you can do, and this is kind of what I think is best, if you can do it, but the second thing would be to get like an extended stay or an Airbnb. Go ahead and move down here. And then that way, as properties hit the market, you're ready to go. We can go view them when it comes time to you doing your inspection. If you want to go, you can be there. It just helps a lot because you're here, you're ready to go, you're learning the area, and we're looking at all the homes. The bad thing about this is that, it's expensive for sure. In availability, sometimes people may have to rent, like they may get an Airbnb for a month here, and then they have to go over here and do an Airbnb. So, that's a bummer. The good thing about the extended stays in the Airbnbs, though, is that you don't necessarily have to move all your stuff. So like you could put your stuff in storage until you find the house you're actually going to buy. And in the meantime, you're just bouncing around with the things that you really need, obviously your clothes and, stuff like that. The third option is we can do video tours. So I don't know how many video tours a month I do, but it's at least 20 or more. Especially now that we're getting in the springtime, I feel like I'm doing more and more of them. When I do a video tour, I will point out the goods, I'll point out the bads to the best of my ability. I'm not a contractor. I can't tell you for sure that hey, this is, foundation problems, but I can show you, hey, there's a crack in the foundation right here. There's a crack above the window, and I do my best to point stuff like that out. And when you're, talking with your realtor, whoever it ends up being, you guys can discuss that too. I don't do FaceTime anymore on my personal video tours because when you deal with FaceTime, the biggest problem is that a lot of these areas, if you don't have great phone service, it's kind of laggy. And even if you have good phone service, it's still just not the best quality. So what I actually do is I'll do a video and I'll upload it to YouTube. And my clients typically like that better because they can go back and rewatch it as many times as they want, and the quality is just much better. Again, I certainly don't hit everything, but I feel like I do a good job of giving you, an overall review of the home. Now, when it comes to doing these sight unseen offers, basically the way it will work is, first of all, we'll use all of our tools to vet the property. Then I'll do the video. And then if everything checks out and you guys want to move forward, we can, obviously make the sight unseen offer. Now, when it comes to doing the sight unseen offer, do keep in mind that you are protected under, the inspection contingency. So although you're not here to be able to see the property in person, you will have a professional, and you can choose whoever in the world you want to come out and inspect that property. So you're going to have an inspection. You're going to have an appraisal who's going to give you the value of the home, if you choose to have an appraisal. And if you're getting a loan, most of the time it's required. So you do have some protections there, so it's not quite as scary as just like, buying a car in California and just hoping that it is what the videos and the pictures show, so it's a little bit better than that. I'm not the biggest fan of sight unseen stuff. I personally wouldn't do it unless I was really in a pinch. I would much rather, be somewhere and actually viewing the property. But I've done this all different ways. You know, I've had people that haven't ever even been to Tennessee. I've done videos and they've ended up getting the properties. Again, it's whatever, you know, whatever your priority is, that's how we'll make all this work. So again, those three options, you know, any of them will work. Any of them will do. You know, you'll just have to figure out like what's best for you. You know, like I said, they all have pros and they all have cons, just like just about everything in life. Now, the last thing that I want to leave you guys with is just kind of some things to be prepared for financially when it comes to, you know, making all of this happen. So if you've bought a house before, you probably, you know the process. If you haven't, then, you know, you definitely want to stay tuned, and you maybe still want to stay tuned anyways. But some of the things that you need to be prepared for. One is you need to talk with your lender to figure out what your closing costs are going to be, what your down payment's going to be, right? Those are possibly the biggest things ever. And obviously your payment, you know, you want to make sure that you've got your financial stuff taken care of there. But aside from the stuff with the lender, and again, please make sure that you talk about closing costs as well. So many people see their down payment, but then they don't take into consideration that you have closing costs. Closing costs can be as high as 4%. You know, that's a big charge there that you need to be prepared for. Now, aside from that, some other things that you need to be prepared for are inspections. Here in Tennessee, I've seen them range anywhere from $300 to $1,000, and that really just depends on, you know, what company you're going with and also how many different things you're going to have inspected. So you could have a radon test done, you could have a regular home inspection, you could have a septic inspection. There's, you know, the list goes on and on. So you need to be prepared for that. What are the things that are going to be important to you, and make sure that you're ready to pay that. Now, another cost that you need to make sure that you're, you know, prepared for is earnest money. So here in Tennessee, most people try to do 1%, but it's 100% negotiable. You can do whatever you want. We typically try to do 1%. And if you're not familiar with earnest money, it's kind of sort of like a down payment. It's a good faith is kind of what they call it. And basically what it is it's just money that you're putting down to show the seller that you're serious about buying their property. As long as you go through, you know, as long as you do everything contractual that you're supposed to, that money comes back to you at closing as a credit to whatever your closing costs are, right? So the only way you're going to lose that money is if you breach contract. Another cost that you need to be ready for is the appraisal. Okay. Now with the appraisals, I can't really remember how much they are. I've seen them anywhere from like $400 to like $1,200. And I'm sure some of that depends on how fast they need it and everything. When it comes to appraisals, that's a better thing to ask your lender to figure out exactly what that's going to be. But those are the three additional costs that you're going to have to be prepared for on top of, you know, closing costs, down payment, and, you know, whatever else you have to pay for to get down here. So hopefully I haven't overloaded you guys too much. Again, I just wanted to I've done different videos where I've had different sections. I wanted to do one video where I kind of put everything together for you so you could kind of have like one like buyer's guide. So yeah, hopefully this has been helpful. If you guys have any additional questions, please just reach out to me. My number's down below. My entire goal here is just to make your relocation, you know, as easy and stress-free as possible. This video has been really long and I'm getting to the point where I can't talk right. So I'm going to get off here and get to work. Please reach out if y'all need anything at all. And thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Bye.